Hey friends, it's me, Just Tamika. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First off, it's free. Did I say that? Yes, you heard it. It's free. And there are many creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. So there's no need to rush out and buy any unnecessary equipment. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many others. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Yes, you heard me. No minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast, all in one place. So go ahead and download the Anchor app today. Go to anchor.fm to get started. And can't wait to hear your first podcast. Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Just Tamika. I have with me today Julia. She has actually a few perspectives that I'm interested in. She is a mother, she's a wife, she's young, she's a believer, and I'm interested in hearing what she has to say. So Julia, I will hand the mic over to you and I will let you tell us about really what I'm hoping that people get out of this podcast is how can they really walk their spiritual walk in real life? Like, a lot of times people say, oh, what's in the Bible? But I think that we as Christians have a way of just really downplaying a lot of things and assuming that people know what we're talking about, when really people want to know, okay, well, how do I apply this to my life now? What does that look like in real life? So if you can share some of those lessons and nuggets of wisdom that you've learned just along the way.
Okay.
And go when you're ready.
So was there a specific topic that you had in mind?
Honestly, no. But let's whittle it down.
Okay.
What do you feel like is the biggest lesson you've learned and let's do different perspectives. So what is your biggest lesson you've learned as a Christian woman? And then I'd like to hear if you feel like there's a different biggest, so, you're also a mother. So what was the biggest lesson as a Christian mom? And then finally as a Christian wife. Let's see if we can pull those three things together.
Okay. Well, we'll have to find a way to tie them together. As a woman, definitely finding out how to love yourself. The biggest lesson I had to learn was definitely love yourself and learning to allow yourself to be loved by God, by the Father, and learning how to experience that with yourself before you try even dating or finding anyone else. Even in friendship, you have to love yourself before you can have relationships with others. And once you learn to love yourself, you learn who you are, you learn the things that you like, take time to get to know you, and also take time to meditate with the Father and let the Father tell you how he loves you and what ways he loves you and what ways you can grow. Because if you don't, a lot of people don't take that time to do that. And so something in my life as a younger person that I've had to learn was to take the time to do that, to get to know me and to allow myself to be loved. Because if you don't do that, then it just makes your walk harder. It makes your life harder. You struggle with things that you don't understand. What's going on with me? Or why am I going through this test right now? And you keep going through the same test because you didn't learn what the heck it was you were supposed to learn.
Right. You know what? I'm so glad that you highlighted that, because especially with young women, I think we don't always know how to love ourselves. We don't really. And I think too, add that to being a Christian and feeling unworthy of God's love.
Yes.
What is some way, how did you come about doing that? Like, so if there's a young woman who's listening and she wants to know, well, how do I love myself? I know God loves me, but how do I begin to love me? What are some tips that maybe you can give? What are some suggestions that they might try?
It's not easy. You will fail. You just have to keep trying. But something that I could have used back then is, stop putting yourself last. Stop putting everybody else before you. You can see it in other people and trying to fix other people, but who's trying to fix you? Who's sitting there and they're saying, hey, I see you. You have to see yourself. You have to take the time to stop and be willing to do the work. You have to be willing to cry. You have to be willing to be honest with yourself. You have to be willing to fall in love with you and allow yourself to do that. Because no matter how much you hate yourself, there will be times when you just can't stand yourself. You have to put in the work. Part of it is the work.
I'm glad you said that too. And for me, there's a parallel there between doing the work, self-work. That's the crux of what therapy is. People come and sit down and think that when they see a therapist, there's some magic wand that's going to be waved and their life's going to be fixed. But if you don't do the work, if you don't look at the ugly truths, if you don't, if you're not willing to embrace the hard parts about you and begin to shape them to do better, because you can do better, right? And I love that you're bringing that out, because I think so many women need to hear that.
And also, we as women, we're taught from a young age how to care for other people, how to love other people, how to build up other people. A lot of the times, the church often focuses on making young women good wives, but there's not a lot of focus on building self-esteem, building confidence.
Yes.
Or this is something that I've noticed in myself as I got older, taking accountability and saying, no, I'm the toxic person in this situation. No, I was wrong, and getting the help that you need. Like, just going back and looking and be like, maybe I do deal with this mental issue. Maybe something is wrong and I need further help that I can't fix myself. Maybe I do need therapy, or maybe some things, faith without works is dead. You ain't just gonna pray things away. If you ain't willing to go to therapy and acknowledge that you done messed up this situation, you need to apologize for this situation. Maybe that's why you're still dealing with what you're dealing with.
I agree. And I think too, another powerful point that you just made was that it's okay it's not a weakness to ask for help. Recognizing that you need help is a strength. A lot of people, and I think especially in our culture as Black people, we turn away help. We feel like we have to do everything on our own. We feel like we have to, especially the women, we're known as the proverbial workhorses of the race, because everything gets loaded onto us. But not only that, we load everything onto ourselves. We take it on. We don't take time. And I will share, I was actually talking to someone earlier, and we were talking about self-care. And I listen, in college, I thought self-care was something I didn't have time or couldn't afford to do. Who got time to go to a spa? Because that's what I thought it was. I thought you went to a spa and that was something that bougie people with money had time to do. Now I realize,
I learned that as a mother and a young woman. I can say those two intersect, because when you don't take care of yourself, you start to break down.
Right.
But I noticed as a mother and a wife and a young woman in general, if I don't take care of myself, I'm more snappy with my sons. If I don't take care of myself, I'm more likely to be mean to my husband. And that, he said it before, you need to go take a bath or something.
Get your me time in, right?
Yes, you need them, especially as a mom. Kids are so beautiful. They're such a blessing, but they're so needy.
Oh yeah.
And they always, especially, I don't know about little girls, but boys, young boys, they always want you to pick them up, hold them. They just, I'm a boy mom of mama's boys. And sometimes I have to say, like, honey, can you take him to go and play at the park? I have to put the newborn down to sleep and ask if I can get my me time, because this little boy, he goes all day long. There's no stopping. And I think a lot of moms get a lot of heat for being like, I need some time away from my kids, because people expect moms to always be able
24/7.
You shouldn't have had kids if you wasn't going to be. No. Moms and dads, grandparents, everybody needs self-care and me time so they can continue being super mom, super grandma, super dad.
And you know what? You're talking about a healthy relationship now, right? Because women don't have babies to have them by themselves. And so I can say that that's something that I directly admire about your relationship, is that you and your husband give each other that space. You support each other and allow each other that me time, because it's the healthiest thing for you and it's the healthiest thing for your babies, And so I'm so grateful that you are able to set that example for your boys, because they're going to grow up and they're going to model off of what they see.
Because there are so many families where, you know, you see the mom run ragged or one parent run ragged doing everything, but you have to work together. It takes a village. Even if you're not, you know, the traditional family, even if dad's not there or mom's not there, the main parent needs help. And even there shouldn't even be a main parent, but sometimes it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
But you have to recognize that you need help. Like, my husband has supported me so much through both pregnancies, postpartum. There were times where the man even held my bedpan. He's wiped my butt.
That's what you call a good one, ladies. A good one, a keeper.
I mean, there's some stuff he has to take to his grave.
Amen, girl, yes.
But what I had to learn was, because he's a helpful husband, you know, he does more than just bare minimum. He goes above and beyond. But I've had to learn that, you know, yes, even daddies can get postpartum depression. Even daddies need breaks, because a lot of people, you hear a lot of women, oh, my husband doesn't do this, he doesn't change diapers. We go to the doctor's office and you'd be surprised. The nurses are like, oh my gosh, you come to the appointments, you know your child's birthday, you know the birth weight, you were there to take pictures, you held their hand, you changed diapers. Like, the amount of men that don't change diapers is astounding. But it's also something I'm very grateful for, but I'm also very grateful to be able to acknowledge his mental health, to be able to acknowledge that he needs breaks. He needs time to be alone. He needs spaces that a lot of moms have. We already have things like weight classes, Black Infant Health, classes free that we can go to connect with other moms and get that advice, that community. But men don't have that, and I'm really grateful today to have been able to sign him up for something like that, because it's something he's been needing as a dad, young dad, to connect with other dads, older dads, younger dads, just to be able to vent.
Yeah, it's rare.
You know what? My kid white pooped on the wall today, you know?
Just a safe place to be able to vent in the process. And I think that's necessary. I'm going to switch a little bit, because we talked about the mom perspective, I think, and the young woman perspective, and we're getting into the husband and wife perspective. And so you've transitioned and navigated that beautifully. But I'm wondering what you feel like your biggest, or you know what, let's say your hardest lesson, most difficult lesson to learn as a Christian woman, and then what support did you have? Because I'd love to say that our churches are right there, but we know that there's a lot of church hurts that occur, and our churches they don't always respond the best way. So the question is twofold. One, what was your hardest lesson to learn, and were you supported, or where did you get your support?
Overall?
Yeah, is there something that stands out, a really hard lesson that you had to learn as a Christian woman?
I have to figure out how to word, because there have been a lot of hard lessons that I've had to learn.
Okay, and I just want one.
I think my most memorable one is just to learn when God tells you to do something like Jonah.
Okay.
Do it, because there was a time where he was reaching out to me, he was speaking to me, and I was like, I hear you, but I don't want to do that. And I didn't listen. And I did what I wanted to do. And I got to a point where I was so low in my life that I was like, all right, okay, I can't take much more of this. You know, I'm coming back. And I felt very welcomed. I was welcomed with open arms back into an old Christian community that I had left before. And it had been like nothing had ever happened. I was dealing with so much that I didn't think I was going to make it. And I was expected to be like, oh, where you been? You haven't been back to see us. It was like I never left. They just loved on me, and they helped me heal, and they helped me realize that I was still loved by God. And, you know, I think that was one of the hardest lessons I had to learn overall.
Wow, that's real, because there are times when God is nudging us to do something, or we feel compelled to do it, but we don't want it. It doesn't line up with what we want or what we want to do, and you can resist that. You can't, because we get in our comfortable spaces, you know, and growth is not comfortable. And I'm so happy to hear that you had what I call true Christians, people who don't judge you, and they just know that you need love. And, you know, it's reflective of God, because he's standing there waiting for you to come back with open arms. And so I'm so grateful that you highlighted that too. We are getting towards the end of our little segment here. Are there any final thoughts or things that you want to leave with our listeners?
There are a lot of final thoughts. open. I mean, my first thing I would say is, if someone's out there listening and you feel a calling on your life, or you feel like God's asked you to do something, you feel like it's too late or you can't go back, it's just, come running like the prodigal son. You'll be open with open arms. And if there are church hurts, you have to remember that your God is relational with you, and the church is there as a support, but the church is not God himself. The church
is full of humans, right?
It's flawed. And I don't know if, the hurt is too much for you, but just know that you can always come running like the prodigal son back to God. And also know that your support people in whatever you're going through, whether it be marriage, whether it be children, like whoever is your biggest support, remember that they need support too. Their mental health matters. They may not say much, like moms, we don't say much. We do a whole lot for our kids because we love them, and we don't ask for anything in return. Grandmas, husbands, wives, we all, most of us do things because we love you. But just remember your support person and continue to check on them. See if they're okay. See what they need. Because the person who's taking care of everybody else is probably forgetting to eat, forgetting to drink water, not taking care of themselves, Miss Griffin.
I'm a work in progress.
So just check on them and make sure that they're okay. Because every support person needs a support person.
Amen. That was beautifully said. I want to thank you so much for your time today, your words of wisdom. I know that it won't fall on deaf ears. I think people are really going to respond well to this. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for tuning in. This is, as always, just Tamika. Bye-bye.